The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus spoke to the crowds. "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. On finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore, sat down, and put the good into baskets, but threw out the bad. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all this?" They answered, "Yes." And he said to them, "Therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like the master of a household who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old." The Gospel of the Lord. I remember when I was a kid, there was an occurrence that took place several times throughout my childhood, and it was usually the result of seeing an advertisement on TV or going over to a friend's house and encountering a new toy that they had just gotten. And immediately, as soon as I saw something that I wanted, the begging and the pleading and the asking my parents if I could get that toy or that video game or whatever it was started. Because I was convinced that those things were what I needed to be happy to bring joy into my life. And it was like, if I just got this toy, I could be cool like everybody else. If I just got this game, it would be so much fun. And there were some times in my life that my parents gave in and they said, "Okay, you can get it." There were other times they said no. And there were other times they said, "Okay, we'll let you get it. But if you're going to get this new toy or this new game or whatever, you've got to get rid of or give away some of your old toys and stuff first." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." And I'd go through and I'd find things that I hadn't really played with in a while, or my mom would help me find things, and we'd give them away or get rid of them, and then she'd let me get this new toy. And of course, there'd be the great excitement, and I would play with it or play the game, and after a while, I'd lose interest in it. And then the next time this cycle repeated, oftentimes that toy that I had been so excited about a couple of years prior was the one that got given away or sold so that I could get the next thing, the next treasure. And even in adulthood, things maybe don't necessarily change all that much, because we see that commercial for the new iPhone 11 or the new Samsung phone, and we start thinking to ourselves, boy, it would be nice if I had that. You know, my one that I have right now works fine, but that's got so many more nice features and stuff on it. And it's this constant cycle of get, get, get. And where does it lead us? Where does it leave us? Do the things that we seek after, whether it be toys or games or electronics or devices, do those bring us true happiness? Or after time, does that joy that we get from getting those things fade? Many of us in our lives might think of these things, our electronics, our vehicles, as our treasures in life, as the things that we hold dear. But when we hear Jesus speaking about this hidden treasure or the pearl of great price in tonight's gospel, he's speaking about a different type of treasure. Not something worldly, not something material, but the treasure of the kingdom of heaven. And it's a treasure that, as Jesus says in the parable, that we have to be willing to give all that we have in order to receive. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to give away all of our money and all of our possessions and live in abject poverty in order to enter into the kingdom of heaven. But we do have to be detached from worldly things and worldly goods. And we do have to be willing to live our lives in such a way so that we are of service to God and to others. And that we use the things, the wealth, the material goods that God has blessed us with in our lives to bring glory and praise to God. That's what Jesus is calling us to reflect on and think about in this parable tonight. He wants us to ask ourselves, what is our true treasure? What is the thing that will truly make us happy and that will truly bring us growth in holiness and love? And that thing is nothing short, nothing less than our relationship with Jesus Christ, that we experience first and foremost in the Eucharist, but that is called to be the center of our lives and what we do. Jesus gave everything on the cross so that we could have eternal life with him. And when we make the decision to follow him and to give of ourselves completely, then we will have rich blessings in our lives. That's what happened to Solomon in today's first reading. He didn't ask for wealth, he didn't ask for fame, he didn't ask for all of his enemies to be destroyed. He asked for the Spirit that he might be able to discern between good and evil and have an understanding mind. And because he was willing to seek gifts that would help him to be of service to others, God rewarded him greatly. Brothers and sisters, that's what we're called to do. We're called to seek the gifts in our lives that will help us to be of service to others, so that through our very lives and our very actions, we can bring glory and praise to God.